does this mean for Cam?
I have no idea. And the reason I have no idea is because we don't really know much about Matt Rhule other than the fact that he builds programs, and he's been successful doing that. Now, for those of you who don't know, I know that I'm synonymous with the NBA, but I covered Temple football for 3 years in my first 3 years with the Philadelphia Inquirer. It was without question one of the most awful programs in the history of college football. I mean, it was so bad. I was a proponent of them moving out of Division I just for mercy purposes. That's how bad it was. This man comes years later after I departed, of course, and he took over the program in 2013. He went 2-10 his first year, 6-6 his second year, 10-4, and then 10-3. Both bowl appearances, he lost both bowl games. He departs for Baylor, leaves Baylor, inherits their program. We all know how the situation involving them. 1-11 his first year. Next year, 7-6. This past year, 11-3. Never, he won the Texas Bowl last year. Not much. Lost the Sugar Bowl this year.
To Georgia.
The point is that he clearly knows how to lead a program. And so in that regard, you can't just summarily dismiss this as a bad hire. He might come into Carolina, and he may very well do good things. But how do we know whether or not that's going to be with Cam? Because let's face reality, there's a lot of question marks about Cam. And it's one thing to have Ron Rivera with Cam. It's another thing entirely to have a college coach. I could see if it was somebody that coached Cam in college, but that's not what's going on here. And so when we look at it from that perspective, I think that we don't want to sit up there and just dismiss the dude, but let's be real. We don't know what the hell to make of this hire.
Unless Cam has something to do with the hire.
Yeah, that's true, Max. That's a good point.
Why does your mind go there?
When he was with the Giants, he was the offensive line coach. Cam is a guy as a quarterback, and we all have a lot of respect for Ron Rivera, right? But Cam is a guy as a quarterback who maybe never got the most out of his, or they maybe didn't. It's hard to say they didn't use him a lot or use him well because they went to a Super Bowl. And Rivera deserves a lot of credit, as does Cam. But maybe he could have become a greater quarterback the way we perceive quarterbacks. And as Stephen A. says, what's the quarterback's real job? You think about throwing the football down the field or, I look at what was done with Lamar Jackson recently and how the entire offense was changed around, not in a way that exposes Lamar Jackson to like excessive hits or something like that, knock wood, right? But in a way that really uses him and gets the most out of him and has not hindered his development as a passer or anything like that. And I think maybe Cam hasn't had that yet, and maybe this is the right fit along those lines.
Where's the play? Because to both of you guys' point, Matt Rhule is coming. Let's like identify the formation of this coaching decision. I got a guy that thrives well in a sort of college system in Cam Newton. I got Matt Rhule from Baylor who played with guys that are familiar and sort of similar to what they do in skill set as Cam Newton. If this is the plan going forward, because Tepper wanted to make sure that the owner of the Carolina Panthers wanted to make sure he got a guy that he felt like he had an imprint. And if this point, if the point is to put Cam in a position to thrive, if that's not what you're willing to move on from, this may be the perfect hire. Because Cam Newton thrives well in a system where there is movement, in a system where there's creativity offensively, and you don't really ask your quarterback to do much from the pocket. Now, the knock on Cam has been injuries. He gets out too much. That's not the way Matt Rhule runs his system at Baylor. He likes to spread things out, put his quarterback in a two-prong situation where he can move around.
It makes use of what Cam can do.
It makes you
without having him sit there.
It gives you pause to say it's a problem because he's familiar with this type of system.
But let me play devil's advocate. We heard Jerry Jones say he didn't want a college coach. He didn't want somebody without experience. He looked at the analytics, and it doesn't translate at the NFL level, right? When he was with the NFL, when he was with the Bears, I'm looking at their record here. They were 1-11 in his first season, 11-3 this past season.
Matt Rhule is this, all right? Like we categorize coaches somewhat by their resume, but their approach. First of all, Matt Rhule is going to be in the building 24 hours a day. That's number one. That's his MO. That's what he does. His players love him. They have an affinity for playing for Matt Rhule. That's how you turn a program from 1 win to 11. Your guys buy in. And then the third phase is what I won't get away from this hire. I think this hire says we're not ready to move on from Cam more than anything.
Especially if Cam has
more
something to do with the hire.
Well,
Yes.
let me say this to you, and I think that it's important to bring this up. I think that we're focusing on the wrong person. Cam Newton is obviously a focus. We understand that. But the real focus is David Tepper. He's the owner for the Carolina Panthers.
New owner.
And he's the new owner. Well, he's been there 2 years.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it from that perspective, all right, he wanted to veer away from Ron Rivera. Okay, listen, Ron Rivera is universally respected. Why do you want to do that? Because you want to have your own fingerprints on this franchise. You're worth $11 billion, according to various reports. You clearly have the money, and you're clearly not somebody that has been willing to be quiet. You've been willing to stand front and center and to let people know where you stand. So what's your relationship with this guy? Yeah, we don't know the answer to that question.
I don't think Tepper wants to put his fingerprints on it so much as he sees a good product, and he thinks he can make a great one.
Yeah.
And I said when they fired Rivera, okay, wait a minute. That's his right, new owner, okay, fine. Rivera did pretty good. So now the bar is set for Tepper. Do better than that or you messed up, right? And I like this hire because what you brought up is exactly right. He went from 2 different programs in college that couldn't buy a win to programs that were winning almost every game.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube.
For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app.
And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.